In Season 2, Episode 7 of House of the Dragon, we hear from the man himself, Hugh the Hammer, the man of the hour, really, right? He had a great episode, but he had a little sit-down there before his moment of glory and triumph later at Dragonstone. He has a sit-down with his wife, and he's talking about where he gets his dragon blood from, and kind of a surprise, it comes from his mom, not his father. He talks about how he's not very proud of his mom, but she did comment to him one time saying that you're no different than my brother's sons. Now, brother's sons meaning Daemon and Viserys. Their dad is Baelon the Brave, and we've all put together now at this point, we've seen it all over the internet, that Hugh Hammer's mother is the one and only Princess Saera Targaryen. Let's talk about her. Okay, so where does Saera Targaryen factor into the huge web of offspring that are the children of Jaehaerys I and the good queen Alysanne Targaryen? Let's just say that they took their bedchamber duties very, very seriously. There are a lot of Targaryen kings down the line that unfortunately put aside their other duties and focus on like the main thing that takes up the most space in their brain, like warring or praying. I'm thinking of Darren the Young Dragon and Baelor the Blessed. There's other Targaryen kings too, Aerys the First, right? That they think, just very like, in one area, and they forget about everything else, all their other duties. Not Jaehaerys and Alysanne, okay? They had a shit ton of kids, and let's take a look here. There's Jaehaerys, there's Alysanne. If we follow the line down here, let's go past this first row because Sarah's not there. We go down here, there's Saera Targaryen. She is the 9th born child of Jaehaerys and Alysanne, the 5th daughter. Does it end there? No, it does not. Now, you may think that the 9th born kid of a king, maybe they have one paragraph to their name, a small little list of their accomplishments and accolades. Not Saera Targaryen. You could probably write a couple chapters on this girl. She gets into a lot, and she racks up a lot of stories during her time in King's Landing and abroad. So let's go and talk about that next. Okay, so we know where Saera Targaryen sits in regards to the line of succession underneath Jaehaerys and Alysanne. Let's learn a little bit more about the character and the person here. So she's born in 67 AC, 67 years after conquest. And again, the 9th born kid, she has a lot of older brothers and sisters. And it's quite clear early on that she is suffering from some kind of syndrome that just a kid has when they have that many older brothers and sisters. And they just aren't getting the attention that they need. She's a very willful kid, very stubborn, very loud, very demanding, very selfish. They got passages in Fire and Blood. She had a sister named Diella where she would just completely torture her sister. She'd put cats in the bed in their bedroom. She's terrified of cats. She had bees, ladies and gentlemen, in her sister's chamber pot. Okay, so imagine today that you just go to the bathroom, you open up the toilet seat there, and then you got a swarm of bees flying out of there. That's not good. Okay, there's the court jester named Tom the Turnip. She absolutely tortured Tom. Okay, so she basically just was a huge headache for every single person in and around her. Everyone that orbited her atmosphere. She was a problem for them. Now, some people did enjoy her. Her older brothers, Baelon and Aemon, thought she was funny, but I think that they're so much older than her. They just look at her like, oh, look at our crazy little sister, like pat her on the head, and they walk away knowing that she's someone else's problem. They're not actually around her all day long like her other siblings are that are closer to her in age. But it's mentioned also, too, in Fire and Blood that her sisters just at varying degrees really, really dislike her. It's noted by the Septon, it's noted by the Grand Maester that this girl is going to be an issue. If she ever takes flight on a dragon like this, she's a problem. She's a firecracker. She is a wild card, and she played that to her favor too with a lot of things, right? She had her dad wrapped around her finger, Jaehaerys. She wanted a horse. She wanted a lion. You name it. Some like crazy exotic animal. He'd make it happen for her. Notes too that he drew the line at an elephant. I'm not doing that, whatever that costs to transport that across the narrow sea. I'm not digging into the vault for that one. As Saera gets older, the issues start to become a little bit more serious, right? Now we're not just telling the court jester to, hey, if you climb the Iron Throne there, you can go ahead and be king. And then Tom the Turnip goes and does that. And hey, big surprise, he cuts himself all up and screws his whole body up. The things start to become a little bit more serious, as you can imagine, right? She's a Targaryen princess. Despite how far down the line she is, she's still a Targaryen princess. There are many knights and lords out there that would want to be her betrothed. Things start to get really interesting when Saera gets this small group of confidants and girls around her, Lady Perianne Moore and Lady Alice Turnberry. They become completely infatuated with these three young lords that are in King's Landing at the same time that they are. Okay, so we have Red Roy Connington out of Griffin's Roost. If you take a look at the yellow cursor here, remember Lord John Connington from Dance of the Dragons? Okay, Red Roy Connington. They're a vassal of the Baratheons out of Storm's End. Then we have, let's take a look here. Where's Maidenpool? There's Maidenpool, all the way at the tippy top here of the map. And then we have Lord Jonah Mooton from Maidenpool. That's the other guy. And then we go all the way down south here to a name that we're very, very familiar with right now. And that would be House Beesbury. They're in Honeyholt. Sir Braxton Beesbury. He's got a pretty cool nickname, and it's Stinger, right? Get it? Because of a bee. And the bees also are on their sigil and their banner. And then their castle's called the Honeyholt. And they're by the Honeywine River. He's Stinger. Get it? So this giddy little group of friends finally take one joke too far. One joke that actually screws everything up for everyone. It tips over the apple cart and it sets off a domino effect that goes all the way from the Red Keep all the way down to the Street of Silk. And that's actually where we're going to be going with this, because the boys, the young lads, Beesbury, Mooton, and Connington, Saera thought that it would be very funny if Tom the Turnip, the courtroom jester, would get laid. Right? Wouldn't that just be funny if Tom the Turnip would just get laid? So the lads kind of follow up on that, right? Like the princess is thinking something would be funny, so maybe we should do that and just get more favor from the princess. So they take Tom the Turnip down to the Blue Pearl, and before you know it, he's got a ring of naked ladies dancing around him. Tom is screaming, he's yelling, he is not having a good time. Before you know it, the City Watch come busting through the doors, and they break the whole entire party up. Okay, now this is where things start to get a little dicey, because the three young lords are taken all the way up back to the Red Keep, drunk as a skunk, all the way in the bag, not even half in a bag. They're completely in it, taken up to the Red Keep to stand before Jaehaerys Targaryen. Okay, so when Jaehaerys is up there, he's questioning them. He wants to know what happened. Why were you guys doing this? There's rumors that did Saera have something to do with this? Because at this point, Saera's 17 years old. And she has just been absolutely plaguing the entire Red Keep, everyone around her, her father, her mother, her siblings. Again, she's known as she is the problem child of the family. She is the black sheep. Okay, so these dudes aren't going to give up a single thing. They are completely tight-lipped. And then the king at that point has had enough of this shit. You woke me up out of my bed. Okay, didn't we learn enough there from Daemon? Remember when Daemon got all pissed off because the River Lords woke him up out of bed? Jaehaerys finally had enough of that shit too. So he ordered them to all go down in the dungeons for the night, sleep it off, and let's see if they sing a different tale tomorrow. The good Queen Alysanne at the same moment decides, hey, those dudes aren't going to talk because you're Jaehaerys Targaryen. You're sitting above them on the Iron Throne. You're this menacing figure. No shit that they're not going to say anything to you. So what does she do? She goes over to Saera's friends, right? Alice Turnberry and Perianne Moore. Let me see if I can get these girls to talk. And she says to them, hey, if you don't want to end up like Beesbury and Mooton and Connington sleeping in the black cells for the night, you better tell me what the fuck happened. And there you go. They shoot off, right? They're absolutely opened up and they're singing like a songbird. And eventually what comes out is that the girls were having like a little kissing practice, because she said it's just like what the boys do in a training yard with their swords. It's kissing practice. Well, that leads into they're kissing each other. And then that leads into, hey, then we wanted to get the fellas involved. Stinger, as it turns out, he's got two bastards. How about that? Two little honeybees already hovering around the hive there. So as it turns out, everyone has themselves a good old time, and there's just a full-blown orgy, it would seem. So that escalated quickly, right? Alysanne just wanted some information on what happened, and she ends up finding out that all the little group of friends there, everyone's sleeping with each other, okay? And actually, one of the girls, Turnberry, she's pregnant from this little escapade. So again, at that point there, it's like you were going in thinking that you were just going to get answers for this one thing, and then it blows up into this entirely way bigger problem. So Alysanne, of course, goes and tells Jaehaerys about this. Jaehaerys goes and summons Saera. He confronts Saera. Saera goes on his big old monologue about, how, I'm not pregnant. I'm a princess, yada, yada, yada. Don't blame me. I'm just this poor, innocent little girl. And then Jaehaerys says to her, and this is the really, really rough part. Jaehaerys says to her, please tell me that you did not give your maidenhead to one of these dudes. And she says to him, oh no, I gave it to all three of them. Whew. Damn. Jaehaerys has a tough time with that. Understandably so, right? Saera goes on to say, well, what's the big deal? I'll just marry one of them, or maybe I'll marry all three of those guys, right? Just like Aegon the Conqueror and just like Maegor. Whoo boy. Oh boy. Jaehaerys just completely shoots off to the moon like a fucking bottle rocket at this point. The word Maegor sets him off. And if you're not familiar with this, Maegor, Jaehaerys is going to have a special kind of hatred for Maegor. Maegor almost completely just demolished the Targaryen dynasty. He is the reason why that he does not have two older brothers. Aegon the Uncrowned and Viserys, or Jaehaerys' two older brothers, they died because of what Maegor tried to take away from Aenys's children. It was supposed to pass to Aegon. I'm getting into the weeds here a little bit, but, Jaehaerys hates Maegor. Maegor attacked his side of the Targaryen family. He's the reason why he lost two of his older brothers. So that absolutely sends Jaehaerys to the moon. He sends her back to her prison cell. It might as well be a prison cell. Back to her room that night, stand guard. She breaks out. She tries to take a dragon. She gets caught by the dragon tamers. The dragon tamers, they drag her ass back up to the Red Keep. That is when Jaehaerys is officially done. Okay, let's switch back over to those three young jackasses that spent the night in the black cells because they didn't want to tell Jaehaerys what really happened. Well, now Jaehaerys knows what happened, and they have to face their punishments. We'll start with Lord Mooten. He actually gets the best of all of it. Basically, Jaehaerys is just, you have to marry Perianne Moore. You're part of her downfall. Now you can be part of her redemption. And Lord Mooten's like, hey, you know what? That doesn't sound that bad. Okay, I accept. Red Roy Connington. Jaehaerys, just like with Mooten, he's going to match him up with the other one of Sarah's friends. This would be Alice Turnberry, the one who's pregnant. Red Roy, he doesn't like that he doesn't like those terms. He's not feeling those. What he says is, that bastard is going to be Stinger's kid. This woman is going to be my wife. That kid is going to be my heir, and it's going to be Stinger's kid that's going to inherit Griffin's Roost. I'm not doing that. So they send the girl off to the Vale to go to this area where, people that have bastard kids and stuff like that are raised and all that good stuff. And the funny yet sad part is that the kid's born and the kid has red hair. Now, the Conningtons very historically have red hair, right? That's why his name's Red Roy. And there's nothing in the text at all about like her reaching out and saying to him, hey, the kid's got red hair. I'm pretty certain that it's yours, not Stinger's. And that's it. She marries some incredibly minor lord there that I've never even heard of before. And that's the life she lives. And Red Roy's basically given two options now. You can go to the Night's Watch for the rest of your life, or you can go and be exiled for 10 years. He chooses the latter, and he makes it 9.5 years before he is gutted in a gambling den across the narrow sea. That's tough stuff there for the Lord of Griffin's Roost. Stinger has different terms. Stinger's not getting the option to marry somebody and try to redeem themselves. Jaehaerys tells Stinger that you're a piece of shit. We're going to break all of your bones. The Maesters are going to make sure that they heal back in a crooked fashion. You're never going to fight again, right? You're known for your sword play. You're known for your being one of the best lances in the Reach, and you're not going to enjoy those gifts ever again. But then there's the kicker. Jaehaerys says to him, or you could face these accusations and demand a trial by combat. Now, Stinger, he's toting around a very hefty little sack of bumblebees there between his legs, and he says, yeah, I'm going to do that. I demand a trial by combat. He looks at Jaehaerys' Kingsguard. Which one of those old guys am I going to fight, your grace? And Jaehaerys responds, you're fighting this old man. Jaehaerys was 49 years old at the time. Very Ned Stark stuff right there. The man that passes the sentence should swing the sword. Jaehaerys is certainly all about that life. Jaehaerys says, you're fighting me, dude. We're fighting tomorrow. Well, the morning comes, and as quickly as the bumblebee rises, the bumblebee falls to the ground. As Stinger goes and charges Jaehaerys with his morning star like an absolute madman, Jaehaerys, a man that's been around the block a couple times at this point, just goes and parries him off, blocks. He knows this guy's going to get tired, and eventually Sir Braxton can't lift his arm up above his waist. He's completely cooked. Jaehaerys puts I don't even remember what's 5 or 6, 7 different slices in him, and then eventually Sir Braxton falls to the ground, and just as he does, Jaehaerys lifts the visor on Stinger's helm, and then he gets black fire, and he puts the point right on his eye, right on the man's eye, and drives it home, thus ending Sir Braxton Beesbury's Stinger. What a complete rogue of a man, and not a rogue that we look at as Daemon Targaryen. This dude just was a complete dickhead, and well, again, that arrogance cost him. As all of this is going on, Saera's up in her tower watching this happen, and the guard did not let her look away, right? Just as Jon says to Bran, right? Don't look away, father will know, right? This isn't more about, it's a different kind of lesson in this scenario. I want you to look and see what you did. This is what happened, right? And so she looked down and saw her lover get gutted by her dad. So what's in store next for Saera? Well, mom and dad think it's a good idea to go and basically just send her away to boarding school for the summer, a get well camp. All right, let's send Saera away. Let's send her to the Faith in Oldtown, where her older sister is already a septa. And let's see if maybe this will just drive some sense into her after everything that she just went through at King's Landing. She saw all of the gory details and all the aftermath of her actions and decisions. Let's send her somewhere now where she can actually get right. Well, Saera goes there and she basically hates it. They don't go into a lot of detail about her day in, day out stuff there. She's basically just living the life of a silent sister, which from everything we know about Saera to this point is definitely not her style. And despite her sister being there, it doesn't really matter. Could care less. Again, she never really got along with her sisters anyway. It's not like this one's going to smack any sense into her. The plan, though, for Jaehaerys and Alysanne isn't to send her there for life. They know that that's just never going to happen. They want to send her there for a couple years. And again, just let her go abroad and maybe she'll come back to King's Landing a better human being for it. She lasts 1.5 years and then she takes the first opportunity she gets and she gets the fuck out of there. She flies out of the Starry Scepter, wherever the hell she's at, and then makes way for a boat, and she goes across the narrow sea, and she's gone, right? So mom and dad are like, what the hell is going on? Is she going to go? Is she hiding in Oldtown? The High Towers can't find her anywhere. And then they go and they warn Lord Mooten at Maidenpool. Maybe she's going to go to see our good old buddy, Lord Jonah and Perry-Ann Moore, just to check in on Maidenpool. How's life going, right? Since I last saw you guys. She doesn't make it there either. It's about 1 year later they get word that she shows up in a Lysine pleasure garden, still dressed in her novice garb from the Faith. She's basically a prostitute, and she's acting as if she's role-playing as a, silent sister and letting people pay coin to despoil the silent sister, right? She's, again, over there playing a role. And it's at that point there where it completely, the final blow, sending the nail completely through. Even Alysanne is broken by this, completely broken by the news of this. And at that point, I think it's almost where she is like, I've lost my daughter. She even goes on to say that as she's crying, as she's weeping, they've made my daughter into a whore, to where Jaehaerys replies, she always was one. Whew. And again, that's pretty much it from that point. Saera does not stay there doing that forever. From what we gather after that, she does leave Lys and goes to Volantis, where she opens up her own brothel and runs her own brothel there and becomes a very wealthy woman from what we gather. Alysanne tries to keep in touch with her over the years. She writes her letters. They never get a reply, which again is really sad, just because Alysanne does seem like a really good woman, really good queen. She just wanted her daughter to come home. Jaehaerys is not having it. He does not ever want to see her again. And yeah, again, she never replies to her. Saera's name next pops up whenever the Great Council of 101 AC is brought up, where Jaehaerys needs to determine the line of succession after his sons have died, Baelon and Aemon. And Saera at that point, she actually has 3 bastard kids that decide that they're going to go and make their way over there and stake their claim. Which I think is funny because they asked Saera if she's going to do it. And at that time, she's only 34. She's like, nah, I'm good. I'm content here. Again, I have my own kingdom over here. I think she says something like that. So she doesn't go over. She doesn't make it over to 101 AC, and clearly her kids were not chosen to go and be the successor of Jaehaerys. And then after that, really the only other thing that we get in Fire and Blood is Jaehaerys in the last year or so of his life, when Alicent Hightower is taking care of him when he's bedridden. He thinks that Alicent Hightower is Saera. Again, at this point, it's old age, it's dementia, it's whatever malady is ailing him. He thinks that this young person that's taking care of him, he looks at her and he thinks that it's Saera. And it's really sad because he said some really nasty stuff to her, and not all to her. A lot of it's, I think, in frustration to Alysanne, but you can tell that deep underneath the skin, I think he would have probably wanted his daughter to come home too. It's probably something, a regret that he lives with there. And it's something that he's just seeing out in front of him here in the last couple years of his life. But yeah, that's Saera Targaryen. I guess from what we gather, she dies not that long after that of 101 AC. That is apparently Hugh Hammer's mom is. So I just wanted to, if you stuck with me here to the end, I appreciate it. I know that was a little long-winded, but I remembered reading about her in Fire and Blood, but it was only when I went back after this last couple days here where I'm like, remind me of Saera Targaryen again. And then once I started getting into like all the mischief and stuff, and then the 3 nights to Mooton and Connington and Beesbury, I'm like, oh shit, that's right, I do remember this Targaryen. Which I thought it was cool that they invested that much into her, considering she is a 9th-born kid. She was a fun read and relevant with episode 7, the Red Sowing. So just wanted to make a little video about it. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think about Saera? What do you think about, again, her little history here? Drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this video, please like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.